So I'm sure you're well aware that recently there were a couple of motions filed by AH's team trying to get everything thrown out. And we're going to get to that in just a second because Team JD has responded. Just a little bit of a quick thing here, though. JD had another thing come up, and that has been resolved. That was the lawsuit for his City of Lies incident where he apparently punched a guy. That's been settled. I believe it was settled for $100,000. Yeah. He would pay Brooks $100,000. So that's resolved. Now, let's head back to the big trial. Team JD has responded, and they even throw some shade at AH, saying, "Oh, she just wants to sling mud at the wall in a desperate attempt to get all of this overturned because she's upset." Well, it looks like that's not going to be the case. I've actually seen some responses to this by a couple of lawyers now. Nick Rekieta talked about it last night. And on Popcorn Planet, there was a lawyer that talked about it. And I don't think that this is going to work for Team AH. They're not going to get the case overturned like they want because of the simple fact that they okayed all of this before the trial even started. You have to wonder if they knew about it and didn't say anything because they thought they could use this as some kind of ace up their sleeve. Well, it's not going to work. So the only way she's going to be able to get out of this is to file an appeal, which she's going to have the money for. She's going to have the money for it because of the fact that she's getting a $15 million book deal. Whether or not she gets enough of that up front so that she can pay this, and I would, if I were these book companies, I wouldn't give her all of that money up front. Because we've learned from her pledging that she doesn't always do what she says she's going to do. And she could take the money for those books and just run. She says, well, I pledged to write it. I will write it 15, 20 years later. Oh, I did pledge to you that I was going to write that book. So I'm definitely still writing that book. I pledged to write it. But I think she could probably get enough up front to pay for the appeal. So she might be able to do that. Now, whether or not she'll win that appeal, that's the question. I don't think she will. It'd be really hilarious if she loses the appeal and all that money is put up as a bond and then he gets all of that money and she's going to be stamping her feet. That will be content gold. Oh, she'll be doing interviews circuit. I was unfairly ruled against. I'm AH. Why does nobody believe me? But let's take a look at this. So AH shouldn't be allowed to challenge the defamation trial verdict, even if the wrong juror was seated because she waited too long to make the claim, JD's lawyer wrote in a motion filed Monday. AH's attorney, Elaine Bredhoft, alleged in court papers on Friday that a 77-year-old man was summoned for jury duty, but a 52-year-old man who shares the same last name and address was impromptu seated for the 6-week trial in Virginia. Based on the new information, Bredhoff argued that the verdict should be thrown out. The Pirates of the Caribbean star's attorney Ben Chu revealed that the two men are father and son. The middle-aged son was seated as juror number 15. Chu argued that these were not new facts, as Bredhoff contended, but a discrepancy her team should have noticed at the outset when they received detailed information on the jurors. So that's a really good point that I was talking about before I started going through this article. They knew about this. They never said anything, and now they're waiting until they got a verdict they didn't want to make this into a big deal. And he points out here that waived her right to challenge this information because they failed to talk about it at the beginning. And the fact that juror number 15 did not appear to be 77 by Elaine's own admission, but AH's legal team made no effort to explore the fact, instead waiting to raise the issue until after the panel awarded Depp $10.35 million. Chu added that even assuming that a son served instead of the father, there would be no prejudice to AH. The younger juror was qualified to serve and was vetted by the judge and lawyers for both sides, the attorney wrote. That's a pretty good point, I think. Pretty good point. He was vetted by both sides and the judge. So what's to throw out? He also then goes on to kind of throw some shade, which I thought was funny. He responds to this, the fact that she wants the damages in the trial thrown out because the verdict is apparently inconsistent and that it's too much money. It's too much money. $10 million, too much. Too much money. While Miss A.H. slings an exceptional amount of mud at the wall in the hope that something might stick, the jury's verdict on damages were perfectly reasonable and supported by the evidence and testimony in the case, Chu wrote, calling her arguments frivolous. Though understandably displeased with the outcome of trial, Miss A.H. has identified no legitimate basis to set aside in any respect the jury's decision, he concluded. So that's where we are at this point. I don't think that any of this is going to get set aside. I think she's going to have to wait for appeal. And we all know she doesn't have the money for that. So, well, she doesn't have the money for it right now. The book deal will give her the money. Absolutely will give her the money. I guess the question is that $15 million for the book deal real? It's more of a rumor that's been reported by a few people now that kind of hints that it probably is real, but we don't know for sure. I do think that's a lot of money for a book, number one, because, well, I really don't see it selling that well. I look at her interviews and see nobody watching them, and now you expect me to think people are going to pay money to read a book of lies? She should call it the Book of Lies. She won't, but that's what we're going to call it when it comes out. Anyway, let me know what you think. What are your thoughts? Comment below. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and I will see all of you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my locals. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, make sure to follow me over on Twitch. I do watch parties, play video games over there. They're always fun. Follow me over there and come hang out. Also, make sure you subscribe to YellowFlash, my other channel. There's a link to that in the description as well. I do a lot of live streams over there that I don't do on this channel. They're usually smaller and a little bit more personal. So make sure you follow me over there and sign up.